And look, I think what GM is doing today is a little bit unprecedented because they're actually changing the direction of that ship around fairly quickly. Once, when the $7,500 subsidy expired, they knew they had a portfolio that was not congruent with what they think sales is going to be. So they're going to have to rationalize that portfolio. They've been the most aggressive, if not globally, but among the top, the big three in Detroit in rolling out new EVs. So they're going to have to review that portfolio, maybe even wean out some of the lower sales, less profitable EVs going forward.
Yeah, what surprised me about this action, like you said, they've been pretty aggressive on the EV front, is Ford has delayed or scrapped some plug-in models and definitely moved money away from the EV business, which it's been losing money on. And it seemed like General Motors was taking the stance of like, no, that's not us. We are going forward with this. Right. Is GM simply catching up to the economic realities that Ford has already acknowledged, or is there a different strategy at play here?
I think it's really hard to foresee. These policies are changing so fast. With Biden in the administration, there was a huge push. Not just GM, but a lot of automakers was pushing EVs. You had new startups like Rivian, like Lucid pushing EVs. But things have changed, and look, GM is reacting to it. It's interesting you brought up Ford, and now actually Chris Farley looks actually pretty good, right? He looks like he made the right call. But I think, if you look at the bigger picture, what GM is doing today is probably just the beginning. We'll probably hear more, not just from GM, but from the other makers in terms of their EV plans going forward.
Has this changed the way you're viewing the evolution to EVs, that, hey, maybe it's not going to be as far as we thought or as quick as we thought? How should we think about that? Because it seems to have lost steam, and I'm not sure if it's just tied to this administration and its policies and aims, or is it more market-driven?
Well, I think it's up in the air. Personally, I still think there is a market for EVs, not necessarily in the U.S. The Chinese are still pushing EVs. The Europeans, to a certain extent, are also pushing EV. I think with the current policies of no subsidies, no penalties for selling gas guzzlers, and U.S. consumer is still loving the gasoline engine. I think it's just going to take a little bit more time to shift to greater penetration in EV. Look, there is demand, right? Because if you look just before the expiration of the $7,500 subsidy, we did see a spike in EV sales, BEV sales. So there is a certain segment of the consumer that is looking for EVs, and I think a lot of people who have driven EVs love them. So look, it's just going to take time, right? It's going to take time to get there. There's still other hurdles that the EV industry has to overcome. For example, the charging infrastructure. That needs to be built out.